Hello, welcome to today's Lent Reflections from Chorley and Leyland Methodists. Today's reading is from Luke chapter 6 verses 27 and 28 and verses 31 to 35. But this is my word, Jesus continued, for those of you who are listening, love your enemies. Do good to people who hate you. Bless people who curse you. Pray for people who treat you badly. Whatever you want people to do to you, do it to them. If you love those who love you, what's special about that? Think about it. Even sinners love people who love you. Or again, if you do good only to people when they do good to you, what's special about that? Sinners do that too. If you lend only to people who you expect to get things back from, what's special about that? Even sinners lend to sinners to get paid back. No, love your enemies, do good and lend without expecting any return. Your reward will be great. You will be children of the highest. He is generous, you see, to the stingy and the wicked. May we thank God for this word. Love your enemies. This teaching from Jesus is possibly one of the most revolutionary instructions he gave. After all, many of the psalmists in the Old Testament asked God to bring death and destruction on their enemies, and here was Jesus asking us to treat our enemies with kindness, respect, generosity and love, which goes completely against human nature and even our sense of justice. We should not be surprised at this, as this is the Jesus who, when he was nailed to the cross, prayed, "Forgive them, Lord, for they do not know what they are doing." As Tom Wright in his book Luke for Everyone points out, that Jesus was asking us to be more like God in that he's absurdly generous to all people, generous, in the eyes of the stingy, to a fault. He provides good things for all to enjoy, the undeserving as well as the deserving. He's astonishingly merciful and full of grace. After all, as Christians, we know the extent of his mercy and how much he forgives, so how can we not forgive our enemies? Who are our enemies? There is a tendency to think of enemies in terms of those who want to do us physical harm or enemies of the country. Perhaps we should think of more in terms of the relative who we have fallen out with or the neighbour who we are in dispute with. In fact, anyone we don't get along with. In this Lent season, we should start by trying to put ourselves in their shoes and imagine what our behaviour would be like if they did it to us. We can then start, with God's help, to try and do as Jesus asks in this passage and be truly generous and merciful to our enemies. A prayer from the Mothers' Union Anthology of Public Prayers. Dear Father in heaven, let us be peacemakers, more ready to call people friends than enemies, more ready to trust than mistrust, more ready to love than hate, more ready to respect than despise, more ready to serve than be served, more ready to absorb evil than pass it on. Dear Father in heaven, let us be more like Christ. Amen.